I am Roy, 68 years old, a retired construction foreman from Chicago. My wife Elaine passed away 5 years ago, and since then, my son Justin has been my world. Or so I thought. Never imagined I would help buy a house for him and his wife Amanda, only to be thrown out like yesterday's trash. I never thought I would see my daughter-in-law's face drain of color like that. Where are you watching from today? Before we get started, hit that like button and subscribe if you believe that dignity does not need to shout to be heard. The year was 1973 when I first met Elaine at a local diner in Chicago. She was working as a waitress saving money for nursing school. I was 26, fresh out of my apprenticeship, and working my way up in construction. Her smile lit up the room the moment I walked in, and I knew right then she was special. We married within a year. Times were different back then. You met someone, you fell in love, and you built a life together. No dating apps, no swiping right. Just genuine connection and commitment. I worked hard, often 60-hour weeks, building skyscrapers that now define the Chicago skyline. My hands grew calloused, my back ached every night, but I never complained. This was what men did for their families. We provided. Justin came along in 1975, our only child. The day he was born was the proudest moment of my life. I still remember holding him in my arms, this tiny human, with Elaine's nose and my chin, and promising him I would always be there, always protect him, always make sure he had what I never did growing up. We were not rich by any means, but Justin never went without. We saved enough to send him to college, the first in our family to get a degree. Business administration. I could not have been prouder watching him walk across that stage in his cap and gown. Elaine cried happy tears that day. So did I, though I tried to hide it. Life was good. Not perfect, but good, until Elaine got sick. The diagnosis came like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave her 6 months. She fought for 18. My brave, beautiful Elaine. I watched the love of my life wither away, and there was nothing I could build, fix, or fight that could save her. She passed 5 years ago. The house we had shared for 40 years suddenly felt hollow, each room an echo chamber of memories. I tried to keep busy taking on small renovation jobs despite being retirement age. Anything to fill the silence. Justin was my rock during that time. He would come over every Sunday sometimes with his girlfriend Amanda, whom he had been dating for about a year. Amanda seemed nice enough. Attractive, smart, worked in marketing. Always polite to me, though looking back there was something practiced about her warmth. They got married 3 years ago. Small ceremony, nothing fancy. Amanda had champagne taste, but Justin was still paying off student loans. I liked that she did not push for something extravagant. Showed good sense, I thought. About 2 years ago, they started talking about buying a house. The market in Chicago was hot, prices climbing every month. Justin came to me looking stressed, explaining how they had been outbid on 3 properties already. "Dad, we found this perfect place," he told me over coffee in my kitchen. 4 bedrooms, nice yard, great school district for when we have kids. But we are short on the down payment. I looked at my son, this man I had raised, now starting his own family, and the decision was easy. "What do you need, son?" I asked. The amount he named was substantial. 70% of the down payment on a $450,000 house. It would mean selling the home Elaine and I had paid off years ago, dipping into my retirement savings. But what was I saving it for anyway? "The house has an in-law suite in the finished basement," Justin explained. "It has its own bathroom kitchenette. You could live with us, Dad. Save on property taxes, utilities. We could help each other out." It seemed perfect. I would be close to my son eventually, close to my grandchildren. The neighborhood was nice, much nicer than mine, and the truth was, my old house held too many ghosts. I sold my home within a month. The market was that good. Packed up 40 years of memories into boxes. Gave away most of the furniture. Amanda insisted my old stuff would not match their new home's aesthetic. I kept a few treasures. The rocking chair I had built for Elaine when she was pregnant. Our wedding album. The wooden train set I had made for Justin's 5th birthday. Looking back, I should have gotten something in writing about my investment in their house. But this was my son, my flesh and blood. I trusted him completely. The biggest mistake was assuming that meant I could trust his wife too. Moving day came and I felt optimistic. A new chapter. My own space but family nearby. The best of both worlds. Justin and Amanda seemed excited to have me there. At first, the in-law suite was comfortable enough. Smaller than what I was used to, but all I really needed. A bedroom sitting area with a small television bathroom, and the kitchenette that was really just a mini fridge, microwave, and coffee maker. But I could use the main kitchen upstairs any time, Justin assured me. "Our home is your home, he said, helping me arrange my few pieces of furniture. Amanda nodded in agreement, though now I wonder if she was already planning how to use this space once I was gone. I wrote them a check that day. $150,000, most of my life savings. Justin tried to call it a loan, but we both knew it was a gift. I was investing in my family's future. In those early days, it seemed like the best investment I had ever made. The first year went smoothly. Better than I expected, honestly. I kept to myself most of the time, but joined them for dinner a few nights a week. I took care of the yard work, fixed things around the house, things Justin never learned to do, despite my attempts to teach him growing up. Amanda seemed to appreciate having an in-house handyman. I cooked for them sometimes, too. Nothing fancy, just the hearty meals Elaine used to make. Pot roast, lasagna, meatloaf. Amanda would compliment the food, though she often mentioned how many calories were probably in each bite. She was always watching her figure. Still, those early days had a rhythm, a sense of family. Everything changed when baby Thomas arrived. My grandson. I fell in love with that little boy the moment I saw him. He had the same cowlick I had passed down to Justin, the same dimple in his left cheek. The first few months were chaotic, as they are for any new parents. I tried to help where I could, offering to watch Thomas so they could nap or shower, running errands, doing extra chores around the house. I thought I was being helpful. Amanda started to see it differently. "Roy, we appreciate all you do, but we need to establish our own routines with Thomas," she said one day, taking the baby from my arms when I was in the middle of a story. Her tone was polite, but her eyes were cold. Small criticisms began to surface. My television was too loud. My cooking created smells that lingered. I came home too late from my weekly poker game with my construction buddies, and the door closing woke the baby. I made adjustments, bought headphones for the TV, started cooking only when they were out. Made sure to close the door as quietly as possible when returning home. Still, the complaints continued. Now it was that my heavy footsteps might wake Thomas, that my friends who occasionally visited tracked dirt into the house, that the bird feeder I installed attracted too many noisy birds. Meanwhile, Justin was working longer hours at his job. A promotion came with more responsibility, more stress. When he was home, he was tired, distracted. He spent what energy he had on Thomas and Amanda. I understood. Family first. But I thought I was family too. Amanda's friends started visiting more often. Young mothers with their babies for play dates, though Thomas was too young to do much playing. They would sit in the living room drinking coffee or wine depending on the time of day their voices carrying. "How is it living with your father-in-law?" one asked Amanda, not realizing I was in the kitchen around the corner. "It has its challenges," Amanda replied, sighing dramatically. "He tries, but you know how men of that generation are, set in their ways, and the house feels so cramped sometimes." Cramped. In a 4-bedroom house that my money had helped buy. I bit my tongue and slipped back downstairs to my suite. Another day, I overheard Amanda on the phone with her mother. "No, Mom, he is not contributing to the bills. Well, he did pay part of the down payment, but that was a gift. Justin feels guilty about asking him for more, but honestly, freeloading was not part of our agreement." Freeloading. The word stung like a physical slap. I had contributed $150,000 to their house. I maintained their property. I babysat their child. And I was a freeloader. When I mentioned these comments to Justin, he looked uncomfortable, caught between his father and his wife. "Dad, Amanda is just stressed with the baby. She does not mean anything by it. You know how people vent sometimes." But it wasn't venting. It was the beginning of a campaign. The first major argument came when Amanda accused me of not respecting their privacy. I had come upstairs to make a sandwich while she was breastfeeding Thomas in the living room. "Could you please give us some space?" she snapped, though she was covered with a blanket, and I had barely glanced in her direction, focused on getting my lunch and returning downstairs. "Amanda, I live here too," I said, keeping my voice level. "Yes, in the in-law suite. This is our family space." "I am family," I reminded her. She looked at me with cold eyes. "You know what I mean, Roy. Our immediate family." I was no longer immediate family to my own son. That night I heard them arguing about me for the first time, Justin's voice raised in a rare display of anger. "He is my father, Amanda. This is his house too." "No, it is our house. Yes, he contributed and we are grateful, but we cannot walk on eggshells in our own home forever." I turned up my television to drown out their voices, my appetite gone, a hollow feeling growing in my chest, where my heart should be. By the time Thomas turned 2, the situation had deteriorated significantly. Amanda had stopped pretending to be pleased with my presence. Her cold politeness had transformed into thinly veiled hostility. For Thomas's birthday, I spent weeks crafting a beautiful wooden rocking horse. I put my heart into every detail, from the hand-carved mane to the smooth, rounded edges that would keep my grandson safe. When the day came, I proudly presented it at the birthday party. "Oh," Amanda said, barely glancing at my creation. "That is nice, but we actually got him a modern ride-on toy already. Maybe we can keep this in the garage for now. We do not want to clutter his play area." My gift was relegated to the garage while plastic toys from department stores took center stage. Thomas never got to ride the horse I made him. Around this time, Amanda's parents started visiting more frequently. Harold and Dorothy lived in Michigan, about a 3-hour drive away. They were nice enough people, but it was clear they shared their daughter's opinion of me. "It must be so convenient having Roy here to help out," Dorothy said during one visit, her tone suggesting I was more servant than family member. "Actually," Harold added, looking around the living room, "the house seems a bit crowded for all of you. Have you thought about getting your own place, Roy?" This was said right in front of me, as if I were not there, or perhaps more accurately, as if I should not be there. Amanda did nothing to defend my presence. Justin was at work. I began to feel like a ghost in the house my money had helped purchase, invisible except when needed for some task, then quickly forgotten again. My attempts to salvage the situation grew desperate. I offered to pay rent, though it seemed absurd given my contribution to the house. Amanda actually considered it before Justin shut down the idea. I offered to do more around the house, taking on all the yard work, maintenance, and even some cleaning. Nothing changed her perception of me as an intruder. Justin, to his credit, tried to mediate at first. "She is just protective of our family unit," he explained after another tense dinner where Amanda had barely acknowledged my presence. "It is nothing personal, Dad." But it was personal. Very personal. This was my family too, and I was being systematically pushed out. The dinner party incident was when I realized how bad things had truly become. I came home from a doctor's appointment to find the house full of people. Justin's colleagues, Amanda's friends, a full dinner party in progress. "Oh, Roy," Amanda said when she spotted me standing confused in the entryway. "Did Justin not tell you about our dinner? It must have slipped his mind." Later, I discovered Justin had been told I was informed. Another of Amanda's manipulations, driving a wedge between father and son. I retreated to my suite, embarrassed and hurt. Through the ceiling, I could hear laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses. Life happening without me, just a floor above. Worse was when I ventured upstairs for water later that evening and overheard Amanda giving a tour to one of her friends. "And down there is the in-law suite where Justin's dad lives," she was saying as they passed the door to my space. "The house would be perfect if it was just the three of us, but you know how it is." I confronted Justin the next day. "Your wife does not want me here, son. She never has." Justin looked tired, the circles under his eyes dark as bruises. "Dad, you are exaggerating. Amanda is just adjusting to motherhood, to having her own family." "I am your family too," I reminded him. "I gave you $150,000 to buy this house with the understanding I would live here." His response cut deeper than any construction accident ever had. "It is her house too, Dad." In that moment, I saw the truth. My son, the boy I had raised alone after Elaine died, had chosen his wife over me. It shouldn't have surprised me. That is the natural order of things. A man leaves his parents and cleaves to his wife. But I wasn't asking him to choose me over her. I was just asking for respect for the honor of the agreement we had made. But Justin had made his choice, and Amanda knew it. Her hostility became more open after that, her comments more cutting, her exclusion of me more complete. I began spending more time away from the house, long walks in the neighborhood, hours at the local diner where the waitresses knew me by name. Anything to avoid the tension that now filled every room of what was supposed to be my home, too. The breaking point was approaching. I could feel it in the air, like the charged atmosphere before a storm. Amanda was done pretending. Justin was done defending me. And I was nearly done hoping things would improve. The final confrontation began with a leak. A small water stain on the kitchen ceiling directly above where I had recently installed a new shower fixture in my bathroom. Amanda noticed it during breakfast. "Justin, look at this, Mo," she said, pointing upward. "Your father's bathroom renovation is damaging our kitchen." I had installed the new shower head myself, a simple job for someone with my experience. I knew I had done it correctly, checked for leaks afterward. The water stain was old, likely predating my installation. "I checked my work, Amanda. That stain is not from my shower," I explained calmly. "Well, it wasn't there before you started playing plumber," she snapped. "We should have hired a professional." Justin examined the spot. "Dad, maybe you should have let me call a plumber." "Son, I have been fixing plumbing since before you were born. That leak is not from my work. It could be from the main bathroom upstairs, or even condensation in the ceiling." Amanda's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying I am making this up, that I do not know my own house? Her house, not our house, not the house my money helped buy. Her house." "I am saying the leak is not from my bathroom." I repeated, my patience wearing thin, but my voice remaining steady. What followed was the most painful conversation of my life, worse even than hearing about Elaine's cancer diagnosis. Because this pain came not from fate or biology, but from choice. My son's choice. Amanda exploded. I have had it with you undermining me in my own home, questioning my judgment, taking over my kitchen, monopolizing my son's time, influencing my child. Amanda. Justin tried to intervene, but she was just getting started. No, Justin. I am done pretending. This arrangement is not working. It has never worked. I cannot raise our family with your father always here, always watching, always judging. I have never judged you, I said quietly. You do not have to say anything. It is in your eyes. The way you look at how I parent Thomas, how I keep house, how I talk to my husband. Justin put his arm around Amanda, who was now crying theatrical tears. Dad, maybe we should all take a break, calm down. I am perfectly calm, I said, and I was. Decades of working dangerous construction jobs teaches you to stay level-headed in a crisis. And make no mistake, this was a crisis. I cannot do this anymore, Justin. Amanda sobbed into my son's shoulder. It is either your father or your family. You need to choose. I will never forget the look on Justin's face at that moment. Torn, pained, but already decided. I knew before he spoke what his choice would be. I heard them arguing later that night through the thin walls. Amanda's voice shrill, insistent. Justin's low pleading at first, then resigned. I sat on the edge of my bed, hands clasped between my knees, listening to my son surrender. The next morning, Justin came down to my suite. He couldn't meet my eyes. Dad, I think it might be best if you found somewhere else to live for a while, just until things cool down. The words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. For a while, I repeated, knowing full well a while meant forever. Amanda is really upset. With the stress of raising Thomas, her job, everything, she needs space. This is my home too, Justin. I paid for a third of it. He shifted uncomfortably. We can talk about paying you back over time, but right now I need to think about what is best for my wife and son. I am your father, I said simply, and she is my wife, the mother of my child. His voice hardened slightly, the decision solidifying before my eyes. Please, Dad, don't make this harder than it already is. I looked at this man, my son, the baby I had held in my arms, the boy whose scraped knees I had bandaged, the teenager I had taught to drive the young man I had helped through college, and I saw a stranger. When? I asked, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside me. Amanda thinks, we think, by the end of the week, would be good. 3 days. I had 3 days to pack up my life and leave the home I had helped create. I nodded once. Fine. As I began packing my few belongings, I heard Amanda on the phone, her voice light, almost jubilant. Mom, yes, he's leaving Friday. You and Dad can come stay in the suite. We'll have a little celebration this weekend, kind of a fresh start party. Not even waiting for my body to be cold, so to speak, before dancing on my grave. The next 2 days passed in a blur of boxes and betrayal. Justin made himself scarce working late, avoiding the consequences of his choice. Amanda practically glowed with triumph, already measuring my space for new furniture. The morning I left, Justin finally appeared, offering a weak handshake and an even weaker apology. We'll figure out the money, Dad, and you can still see Thomas, of course. I looked into his eyes, searching for the son I raised, and found nothing familiar. Goodbye, Justin. Amanda didn't even come downstairs to say goodbye. I heard her upstairs humming as she cleaned, preparing for her parents' arrival. I took one last look at the house as I drove away. Thomas was playing in the front yard with a neighborhood child. He waved at me, too young to understand I wasn't coming back. That wave nearly broke me. I checked into a modest hotel a few miles away, the kind that offers weekly rates for extended stays. Once in my room, door locked, curtains drawn, I finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of what had happened. My son had chosen his wife over me. I had lost my home, my family, my investment, everything in one cruel sweep. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, put my face in my hands, and wept like I hadn't since Elaine died. Not just for myself, but for Justin, for the man I thought I had raised, for the values I thought I had instilled in him. When the tears finally stopped, I was empty, hollow. But sometimes you need to be emptied before you can be filled with something new. I just didn't know it yet. The first week at the hotel was the darkest of my life. I barely ate, barely slept. The betrayal played on repeat in my mind. Where had I gone wrong as a father? What could I have done differently had I somehow deserved this treatment? On the 8th day, I forced myself to shower, shave, and venture out for something besides the vending machine dinner I'd been surviving on. At a nearby diner, I ran into Frank Donovan, an old buddy from my construction days. Frank had been a site manager when I was still swinging a hammer. We'd lost touch over the years, as happens when life gets busy. "Roy Sullivan, you old workhorse," Frank boomed across the restaurant, coming over to my booth. "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" I considered lying, giving some vague answer, but I was too tired for pretense. So I told him everything. About selling my house to help Justin and Amanda buy theirs. About living in their in-law suite. About Amanda's growing hostility. About being kicked out for the convenience of my daughter-in-law's social calendar. Frank's face darkened with each detail. By the time I finished, he was shaking his head in disgust. "That's low, Roy. Real low. No son should treat his father that way, especially not after all you've done." It felt good to have my feelings validated, to know I wasn't crazy or overly sensitive for feeling betrayed. "The worst part," I admitted, "is that I put $150,000 into that house. No paperwork, nothing in writing. Just trusted my son's word." Frank whistled low. "That's a hell of a lot of money to walk away from." "What choice do I have? Sue my own son?" "Maybe not," Frank said thoughtfully. "But it helps to know your options." He pulled out a business card and handed it to me. It wasn't the worn construction company card I expected. This was glossy with an elegant logo. Frank Donovan, CEO, Lakefront Development Group. "You're a developer now?" I asked, surprised. Frank grinned. "Worked my way up from the trenches just like you taught me. Started buying small properties 15 years ago. Fixed them up, sold them for profit. Now we develop whole neighborhoods, commercial properties too." His success was a bright spot in an otherwise bleak week. At least someone from the old days was doing well. "Listen, Roy," Frank said, leaning forward. "What's the address of this house, the one your ungrateful son and his wife kicked you out of?" I told him, not sure where he was going with this. "Oak Ridge subdivision, with the big oak tree at the entrance." I nodded. A slow smile spread across Frank's face. "Roy, did you know that area is being rezoned?" I hadn't known. Why would I? I'd been too busy trying to make my living situation work to pay attention to local zoning news. The city council approved it last month. That whole area is being rezoned for mixed-use development, residential and commercial. Property values are going to skyrocket. A faint stirring of interest pushed through my fog of depression. What does that mean exactly? It means, Frank said, his eyes gleaming, that the land your son's house sits on is suddenly worth a lot more than what they paid for it. Developers like me are buying up properties there as fast as we can. Justin and Amanda don't seem to know that, I mused. They've never mentioned it. Many homeowners don't realize until the developers come knocking. And speaking of knocking, Frank tapped my hand with his index finger. I might be interested in making your son an offer. Why would you tell me this? Why not just approach them directly? Frank's expression softened. Because you're my friend Roy, and because you got screwed. I don't like seeing good men get screwed, especially not by their own family. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Not revenge exactly, just the possibility of justice. Here's what we'll do, Frank said, pulling out his phone. First, let's get you a proper place to stay. I've got a corporate apartment sitting empty right now. You can use it while you figure things out. I started to protest, but Frank waved me off. Consider it payback for all the times you covered my ass on job sites. Remember that beam that nearly took my head off in '89? I still owe you for that save. Over the next few days, with Frank's help, I began piecing together a strategy. Not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. I met with a lawyer who specialized in real estate. She confirmed what I had feared without any written agreement, proving my financial stake in the house would be difficult. Possible, but difficult. And potentially costly. Family court is messy, she advised. And even if you win, the relationship with your son might be permanently damaged. The relationship is already damaged, I replied. I just want what's fair. Meanwhile, Frank had his team researching the property. What they discovered was illuminating. Not only was the area being rezoned, but Justin and Amanda's mortgage was significantly higher than they should have qualified for. They were financially overextended. They got an adjustable rate mortgage, Frank explained. The rate's set to jump next year. With what I know about your son's job and Amanda's part-time work, they're going to struggle to make those payments. So not only had they kicked me out, they'd also put themselves in financial jeopardy. And here I'd thought Amanda was the practical one. The final piece of the puzzle came from Marge, a neighbor from 2 doors down, who'd always been friendly to me. She called my cell phone, which I'd kept the same. Roy, I thought you should know, she said, her voice low as if someone might overhear. Amanda's parents have moved into your old room, and they're planning some kind of party this weekend. A housewarming is what Amanda called it when she invited us. Seemed strange since they've lived there 2 years already. A housewarming, or more accurately, a celebration of getting rid of me. That was when the full plan came together. Not a lawsuit. Not a drawn-out legal battle. Something cleaner, more dignified. I called Frank. That offer you mentioned, how serious were you? Dead serious, Roy. That location is prime real estate for my next development. And how soon could you make it? I could have paperwork ready by tomorrow. How soon were you thinking? I thought of the party, the celebration planned for my absence. This weekend would be perfect. Saturday arrived bright and clear, a beautiful fall day in Chicago. The kind of day that would have seen me raking leaves in Justin and Amanda's yard not long ago. Frank picked me up at 10 in the morning, driving his sleek black Audi. I'd dressed in my best clothes, not a suit which would have felt like a costume on me, but clean-pressed khakis and a button-down shirt. Casual, but respectable. Dignified. You ready for this? Frank asked as we pulled onto Justin's street. I nodded, clutching a folder of documents. Evidence of my contribution to the house purchase. Bank statements. The deed showing Justin and Amanda as sole owners despite my investment. Everything I needed to prove my case, not in court, but in the court of family opinion. The street was lined with cars. The party was clearly in full swing. I recognized Amanda's parents' SUV, several of her friends' vehicles, even Justin's boss's distinctive red Tesla. We parked directly in front of the house. Through the large front window, I could see people milling about, drinks in hand. Amanda was in the center, laughing, radiant in a blue dress. Justin stood nearby, smiling, but his eyes distant. He'd never been comfortable as the center of attention. Remember, Frank said as we approached the front door. Stay calm. Let me do most of the talking. I rang the doorbell, the same bell I'd installed myself when we first moved in. The chime I'd selected for its pleasant tone. The door opened, and there stood Amanda, her smile freezing on her face as she registered my presence. Roy, she said, her voice tight. What are you doing here? Before I could answer, Justin appeared behind her, his face draining of color. Dad. Hello, son, I said calmly. I hope we're not interrupting your housewarming. Amanda's eyes darted to Frank, then back to me. Who is this? Frank extended his hand smoothly. Frank Donovan, Lakefront Development Group. I'm interested in buying your property. The confusion on their faces would have been comical under different circumstances. This isn't a good time. Amanda started trying to close the door. We have guests. That's perfect, Frank replied, placing his foot subtly to block the door's movement. What I have to discuss will interest them too, especially the part about how this entire neighborhood is being rezoned for commercial development. That got her attention. The door opened wider. What are you talking about? Justin asked, finally finding his voice. May we come in? I asked, my tone making it clear it wasn't really a question. Reluctantly, Amanda stepped aside. As we entered the party, conversation dwindled, all eyes turning to the unexpected guests. In the silence, I spotted Amanda's parents standing near the stairs, my stairs leading to what had been my suite. Dorothy was wearing a smug expression that faltered when she saw me. Everyone, Amanda said with a strained smile. This is Justin's father, Roy, and his friend. I'm sorry, what was your name again? Frank Donovan. Frank repeated, handing out business cards to anyone within reach. CEO of Lakefront Development Group. I'm here because this property is of particular interest to my company. What does that mean? Harold, Amanda's father, asked, stepping forward. Frank smiled, all business charm. It means I'm prepared to make an offer significantly above market value for this house. The entire neighborhood is being rezoned for mixed-use development. My company is planning a retail and residential complex that will cover this block and the next. A murmur ran through the crowd. Justin looked stunned. We're not selling, Amanda said quickly, shooting a warning glance at Justin. This is our forever home. Even at twice the current market value, Frank asked mildly. The room went silent. Even Amanda couldn't dismiss such an offer out of hand. Perhaps we could discuss this privately, Justin suggested, gesturing toward the kitchen. Actually, I said, speaking up for the first time since entering, I think everyone should hear this, especially since any sale would require my approval as well. Amanda's face hardened. What are you talking about? Your name isn't on the deed. I opened my folder and withdrew the bank statements. No, but $150,000 of my money is in this house. That's 70% of the down payment. Money I contributed with the understanding that I would live here. Amanda's parents exchanged looks of surprise. Clearly, she hadn't shared that detail with them. Roy was unfairly evicted from his own investment, Frank added, his voice carrying through the now silent room. Kicked out to make room for other arrangements. All eyes turned to Amanda's parents, who had the grace to look uncomfortable. That money was a gift, Amanda insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. Was it? I asked quietly. Is that what Justin told you? Because that's not what he and I agreed to. Justin's face was ashen now. Dad, please. Not here. Where then, son? You've avoided my calls for 2 weeks. Left me to find a new place to live after I sold my home to help you buy this one. When exactly were we supposed to discuss this? Amanda tried a different approach. Roy, we've always intended to pay you back, when we could afford it. And yet you can afford a party. New furniture for my old room. Seems like interesting priorities. The guests were shifting uncomfortably now, witnesses to a family drama they hadn't signed up for. Amanda's perfect hostess image was cracking before their eyes. Frank cleared his throat. Here's my offer. He handed Justin a document. As you can see, it's quite generous. Contingent, of course, on Mr. Sullivan's approval and fair compensation for his investment. Justin stared at the number on the page, his eyes widening. It was indeed generous, more than double what they had paid for the house just 2 years ago. This is a lot, he admitted. Justin, we are not selling our home, Amanda hissed, trying to take the paper from him. It's not just your decision, Amanda, Justin said, and for the first time in years, I heard my son's true voice. Not the echo of his wife's wishes, but his own mind working. We need to consider this. Consider what leaving our home, disrupting Thomas's life, all because your father showed up with some developer and a sob story. The room was dead silent now. Even Amanda realized she'd gone too far with that last comment. Frank's expression hardened slightly. Mrs. Sullivan, this isn't a sob story. It's business. And possibly legal matter. Your father-in-law has documentation of his substantial investment in this property made with specific living arrangements agreed upon. Arrangements you violated when you evicted him. We didn't evict him, Amanda protested. He agreed to leave. Under duress, I said calmly. After being told I had to choose between leaving voluntarily or watching my son's marriage fall apart. Not much of a choice. Justin was still staring at the offer. Amanda, with this money, we could buy a bigger house, in a better school district, without a mortgage. Her eyes narrowed. And what about my parents? Where would they live? In their own home, Justin said, a new firmness in his voice. Like they've done for 40 years. Dorothy made an indignant noise. Harold put his hand on her arm, silencing her. Amanda's face was pale now, her perfect party in shambles, her perfect plan unraveling. We need to think about this, she said finally. Of course, Frank agreed smoothly. But I should mention this offer is time-sensitive. The zoning changes take effect next month. After that, more developers will be circling. Competition drives prices down, not up. So what are you saying? Justin asked. We need to decide now. I'm saying you should decide soon. Today would be ideal. Amanda looked around the room at the guests, who were now witnesses to her humiliation, at her parents, who were seeing the full picture for the first time, at her husband, who was finally showing a backbone. Everyone, please excuse us, she said tightly. It seems we have a family matter to discuss. The guests couldn't leave fast enough, murmuring awkward goodbyes, avoiding eye contact. Within minutes, the house was empty, except for Justin, Amanda, her parents, Frank, and me. Let me be clear, I said once we were alone. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for justice, for what's fair. Fair. Amanda's voice was shrill. You show up at our party, with a developer embarrass us in front of our friends, and call that fair. No more unfair than kicking your father-in-law out of his home to make room for a party, I replied evenly. Justin was still holding the offer, his expression thoughtful. Dad, if we accept this, what happens to you, to your investment? Finally, my son was asking the right question. Frank's offer includes fair compensation for my contribution. $150,000 plus interest for the 2 years. The rest is yours to start fresh. To buy a new home without strings. Without me. Justin's eyes met mine, and for the first time in years, I felt he truly saw me. Not as an obligation, not as a burden, but as his father. The man who had raised him, taught him, loved him unconditionally. I'm sorry, Dad, he said quietly. We should never have asked you to leave. I should never have allowed it." Amanda made a noise of protest, but Justin silenced her with a look. "We'll accept the offer," he continued, "and we'll make this right." Amanda's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. Whether they were tears of frustration, humiliation, or genuine remorse, I couldn't tell. And frankly, I didn't care. Harold cleared his throat. "Well, I think it's time Dorothy and I headed home. Seems you two have some decisions to make." He gave me a nod of acknowledgement as they gathered their things and left. The four of us, Justin, Amanda, Frank, and I, sat at the dining room table finalizing the details. The same table where 2 weeks earlier I had been told I wasn't welcome anymore. Life has a way of coming full circle sometimes. The agreement was simple. The house would be sold to Frank's company. I would receive my original investment plus fair interest. Justin and Amanda would receive the rest, a tidy sum that would allow them to buy a new home outright if they were careful. As Frank and I prepared to leave, Justin walked us to the door. Amanda remained at the table, staring blankly at nothing. "Dad," Justin said, his voice thick with emotion, "I don't know if you can ever forgive me." I looked at my son, this man I had raised who had forgotten himself for a while but seemed to be finding his way back. "Forgiveness takes time, Justin. But you're still my son, that hasn't changed." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "Can I call you, maybe bring Thomas to see you sometime?" "I'd like that," I said honestly. "But give me a little time first." As Frank and I walked to his car, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Not because of revenge, I took no pleasure in Amanda's distress or in disrupting their lives, but because for the first time since being kicked out, I felt like I had regained something essential. My dignity, my self-respect, my voice. As we drove away, I didn't look back at the house. Instead, I looked forward to whatever came next. The aftermath of that Saturday confrontation unfolded gradually over the following months. The sale of the house went through smoothly, Frank's company paying a premium for the property's strategic location. True to our agreement, I received my original investment plus interest, while Justin and Amanda received the remainder. I used my funds to purchase a small, comfortable condo in a different part of Chicago. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. No one could tell me I didn't belong there or that I was taking up too much space. For the first time in years, I slept deeply, without the underlying anxiety of walking on eggshells in my own home. Justin called a week after the sale was finalized. His voice was hesitant, apologetic. "Dad, I know you said you needed time, but I wanted to make sure you're okay." "I'm fine, son," I told him, and meant it. "Just settling into my new place." "I'm sorry." He said the words, seeming to catch in his throat. "I failed you. Failed to honor what you taught me about respect and loyalty." "We all fail sometimes," I replied, surprising myself with the lack of bitterness in my voice. "What matters is what we learn from it." Amanda, as expected, was less repentant. From what Justin told me in subsequent calls, she blamed me entirely for forcing them to sell their dream home. She conveniently forgot that it was her decision to kick me out that had set everything in motion. But that was Amanda. Reality was whatever she needed it to be. Her parents returned to Michigan, their dreams of a rent-free retirement in Chicago dashed. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction at that, though I tried to rise above such petty emotions. 3 months after moving into my condo, I joined a community center near my new home. They offered classes, social events, and volunteer opportunities for seniors. It was there I met Sophia, a retired librarian with a sharp wit and kind eyes. We started as casual acquaintances, fellow students in a digital photography class, but gradually became something more. Not romance, not yet, but a comfortable companionship that filled some of the loneliness Elaine's death had left. Through Sophia, I met other people my age, widowers, divorcees, empty nesters navigating the final chapters of their lives. For the first time since losing Elaine, I felt like I belonged somewhere again. Had a community. Friends who chose my company rather than tolerated it. 6 months after the sale, Justin visited my condo alone. No Amanda, no Thomas. Just my son standing awkwardly at my door, with a bottle of the scotch I'd always favored. "Can we talk, Dad?" he asked, and I invited him in. We sat on my small balcony overlooking a park, sipping scotch as the sun set. Justin looked older somehow the past half year, aging him more than it should have. "Amanda and I are struggling," he admitted after his second drink. "She blames me for not standing up to you. I blame her for making me choose in the first place. It's not good." I wanted to say, "I told you so," but what good would that do? Marriage is hard work, I said instead. "Your mother and I had our rough patches too. How did you get through them? Communication, compromise, remembering why you fell in love in the first place." I swirled the amber liquid in my glass. "But both people have to want it to work. One person can't do all the compromising." Justin nodded thoughtfully. "I've been thinking a lot about loyalty lately, about who I owe what to. I always thought being a good husband meant backing Amanda no matter what. But that's not right, is it? Not when she's wrong. There's a difference between supporting someone and enabling them," I agreed. Took me a long time to learn that lesson myself. We talked late into the night, more openly than we had in years. About his marriage, about Thomas, about the new house they'd bought, smaller than the old one, in a different neighborhood, but paid for in full with no mortgage. "Amanda hates it," Justin admitted. "Says it's a step down. But it's what we can afford without a mortgage, and after seeing how quickly our last situation changed, I wanted the security of owning outright." When he left, we hugged, a real embrace, not the awkward pat on the back we'd been exchanging for years. "I'll call you soon," he promised, and this time I believed him. A month later, I met Thomas at a neighborhood park. Neutral territory suggested by Justin. At 4, my grandson didn't remember much about living with me, but he warmed up quickly, especially when I showed him how to feed the ducks without scaring them. "Grandpa builds things," he told Justin proudly, after I helped him construct an elaborate stick fort. The word grandpa sounded sweeter than any paycheck I'd ever earned. That fall, I started volunteering at a local housing advocacy group, helping seniors navigate rental agreements, mortgage refinancing, and other housing issues. My years in construction gave me insight into home maintenance costs, and my own recent experience made me passionate about protecting elderly homeowners from exploitation. It felt good to use my knowledge to help others avoid the mistakes I'd made. Life settled into a new rhythm. Regular calls from Justin. Monthly outings with Thomas. Occasional awkward encounters with Amanda, who remained cool but civil. Dinners with Sophia and our circle of friends. Volunteer work that gave my days meaning. A year after the confrontation, I ran into Frank at a local coffee shop. He greeted me with the same booming voice that had called across the diner the day we reconnected. "Roy Sullivan, looking good, my friend." We caught up over coffee. His development was proceeding on schedule, the old neighborhood transforming into a modern mixed-use complex. "Ever regret selling?" he asked. "That house had good bones. Your craftsmanship in the renovations was obvious." I thought about it seriously before answering. The house was just wood and concrete. What I regret is not protecting myself better, assuming that family ties were enough of a guarantee. Frank nodded. "Learned your lesson the hard way. But from where I'm sitting, you landed on your feet. Got your money back. Got your dignity back. That's worth more than any house." He was right, of course. The initial pain of betrayal had faded, leaving behind something unexpected: gratitude. Gratitude for the wake-up call, harsh as it was, for the chance to build a new life on my terms, for the opportunity to redefine my relationship with my son on a healthier foundation. That evening, I received a call from Justin. "Dad, Thomas has been asking to visit your place. Would that be okay? Maybe this weekend?" "Of course," I replied, smiling at the thought of my grandson's curious eyes exploring my new home. "I'll make those chocolate chip cookies he likes." After we hung up, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset, a contentment settling over me that had been absent for too long. The house I'd helped buy was gone now, transformed into something else entirely. Just like me. Just like my relationship with Justin. Just like my expectations for my later years. Sometimes loss teaches us what we truly need versus what we thought we needed. I had thought I needed to live with my son, to be physically close to my only family. What I actually needed was respect, autonomy, community, purpose. The house was just a building. Self-respect was the true foundation. As darkness fell, my phone lit up with a text message from Justin. "Thomas is excited to see you. Me too, Dad. Sometimes you have to lose something to gain something greater. I lost a house but regained a son. Lost my assumptions but gained wisdom. Lost my complacency but gained a richer, more authentic life. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted your family or walked away? Have you ever had to stand up for yourself against loved ones who took advantage of your generosity?" Leave a comment below and share your story. And if this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences. Thank you for listening, and remember that dignity does not always roar. Sometimes it simply shows up uninvited to the party.